I've tried plus EV betting for the last week, and I'm going to walk you through my results, the bets I was placing, the math behind EV, and some suggestions and tips if you are a beginner. So first off, I'm going to start in the EV tab on Oddsjam and show you the definition of expected value of plus EV. So it's basically when a bet is positive expected value, that means market odds indicate that the true probability of this bet is more favorable than what the specific listed sportsbook predicts. This doesn't necessarily mean any specific bet is going to win. Rather, because this bet is mispriced, you're taking slightly less risk for a higher payout than you would otherwise get. If that sounds like gibberish, I'll explain it like this, right? So you can see here we've got a play, and it's giving it to me inside of DraftKings, right? Because it's minus 105 on DraftKings. But the average odds is minus 127, right? And Pinnacle, which I've picked as my sharp book, shows it at minus 122. So we're getting extra juice here because of that, right? We're getting 22 points here because minus 127, and then we subtract the 105, that's 22 points of difference that we're truly getting here. So the idea is mathematically over the long run, if you do this, you will come out on top. And let me show you an example. So here's an example. If you have an even bet line, you have 100 odds, right? It's even money, and you place that 100 times, what you're going to expect is 50 wins, 50 losses, right? Which means you'll come out with $0 of profit, right? Because you'll win $100 one time, you'll lose $100 one time, and you'll go back and forth, right? That's just regular. That's not EV. But this is what EV looks like now. And this is assuming we're placing, again, $100 every single time. So let's say we have a line that's 100, even. It's 100. But we get it at 110. Well, now this is what it's going to look like. We win 110, we lose 100. Because again, it's still a 50-50 shot if the line is accurate, right? And again, no line is ever 100% accurate, but with enough market data like what Oddsjam gives you, you're able to get as close as possible, right? So what will happen is you win $110, you lose 100, now you come out with $10, right? And then you keep doing that over and over again, right? So if you do that, 20 times here, right? You would come out with $200 because you would win $10 20 times. Now this isn't 20, this is 16, but you get what I'm saying, right? That is the math behind it. So basically, you're getting a bet at better odds than the market is showing. So mathematically, you should come out on top over the long run. Now, something I've made a completely different video about is called variance. And that just talks about the fact that your first 10 might look like this, right? They might look like, you win, win, and then you L, right? That might be your first 10 because, again, this doesn't guarantee that it's going to be 50-50 every single time. It just means over the long run, right? So that's why you need a lot of volume with this. You need to be, I'm trying right now to get anywhere from 60 to 100 plays in every single day, and that's totally possible with Oddsjam. So that's why I made a video on variance and talked about how to kind of go through that, what to expect. You can watch that if you want to, but I'm not going to break everything down in this video. You can watch that video after. So I'm over on my Picket here, and you can see that I've got newest EV, right? And that's kind of from when I started doing this. And I'm $8,475 wagered. I've done just over right around 350 bets at this point, right? I've got a 9% ROI and $767. Now, this is with my average bet size being $20 to $30. So I'm not putting in a crazy amount of money here, right? And so, yesterday, for example, I've got money on the NFL games that are going on because it was Monday night. So I've got NFL inside of here. I've got tennis inside of here, right? So you can see that these are the type of bets that I'm placing while I'm doing this. And you can see the calendar here. Now, this includes some of my regular bets that I would do, right? Just like my parlays, some of my other stuff, right? So they're a little off of what they would be, but you can say Wednesday is the first day I did it, $192, right? I got the really high side of the positive variance. I got 20.59% ROI on this. Well, on this one, it was much lower. I got 1.41%, right? So this was a lower side of the positive variance. Come out with $20 of profit here, right? Even lower on Friday, right? 0.25%. And I put down right around 70 bets, won a total of $5.38 here. Well, on Saturday, again, we get the high side of that variance. We come away with $203, right? And 15.55% profit. Again, 50 bets here. Sunday, because there's a lot of football, got around 75 bets down here, right? come out with $184, 8.83% profit. And then finally, yesterday, $121 worth of profit, 9.64%. We got around just under 50 bets here. So this is what it looks like. You want to get a lot of volume up. You can see, again, I'm going to go back to my bets here. Again, you're just inside of my picket with me. I've got newest EV. In, basically 6 days, I've gone down over, close to 350 bets. So that works out to just over 50 bets a day. Again, I'm working now to get that number closer to 60 to 100 every single day as I continue to do more and more of this, because that's how you're going to get rid of that variance. Now, let me show you inside of Oddsjam exactly what all this looks like. One thing to mention here also is that I did this, I would say 80% of this is pregame EV. And then also, I only have been doing this with DraftKings and FanDuel. So 2 books that most people have. If you don't have those, I'll be honest, like FanDuel is actually kind of a sharper book. So like if you don't have these 2, don't worry about it. You can go ahead and you can use, Hard Rock, Fanatic. Also, what I've got in here for the filters, I literally just have it recommended filters. I haven't changed any of this at all. I do my DVIG, I do Pinnacle, and then I do Power here, right? I typically just do next 24 hours. And then I also like to turn off conflicting bets and previously placed bets, just because I don't want to accidentally lay a bunch of money down on one bet, right? And let that sway kind of the day, right? I want to, have same game bets up, because if it's in the same game, it really doesn't matter to me that much. But I don't want conflicting bets, and I don't want, duplicate bets in here. So these are the filters that I've got set up there. Now, for me personally, and what I've been doing, I don't typically go for bets that are much higher odds than like maybe plus 130 at the highest, just because, with me using $2,500 in bankroll for this experiment, I didn't want to be open to, more likely to get negative variance, right? Because if you think about it, right, even if you have some negative variance, but you're doing plays that are minus 132, well, that negative variance will likely be even less than as opposed to if you're doing, let me take a look and see if there's any examples down here. I know there was a lot with football yesterday, but like plus 130, for example, right? Like this has a 43.9% chance of winning, is what the market is saying, right? Which, you're more likely to experience some negative variance there, because even with you getting, the good odds, well, you still have less than a 50-50 chance of winning. So you're going to experience more negative variance on certain days because of this. But you will also, you could potentially get some bigger winning days because you're doing higher odd bet here's. But for me, instead, right, like this minus 150, I'm already as is, have a 61% chance of this bet winning. So I'm less likely to see that negative variance due to that. You can see here, right? Like there's a ton of stuff. I could get $1,200 worth of bankroll down right now, and it's randomly 10:22 on Tuesday morning as I'm recording this, right? But I would suggest, I don't like to go any lower than kind of 2% that I'm placing, right? Like if it's a day like today where there's no football, I might grab some of these higher 1% ones. But overall, I like to keep it in the 2% and higher range here. So another thing that I want to mention, and I found this helpful personally, is you can go in here and you can click book order, and then you can move these around however you want. Because I'm using FanDuel and DraftKings, I put these second and third, and because I'm using Pinnacle to kind of see what the line is looking like, I put that first here. So how I typically go about it is I'll click into here if I'm trying to get something, and I will go and say, okay, what's Pinnacle got it at? Okay, this one is under 7.5, so we would look here. So Pinnacle's got it at minus 120. DraftKings, I'm getting it at plus 109. FanDuel even has it at plus 100, and the market has it at minus 108. Okay, I'm going to go for this. This way, you're kind of double checking and not just blindly doing it. For pregame, it doesn't happen as much, but if you're doing live, right, like some books, like maybe Pinnacle, for whatever reason, for that bet is a little slower to adjust, and so they might still have the line at minus 120 here. But now FanDuel, and let's see, you look at the average odds, and it's saying, oh, the average odds says plus 130 now, and FanDuel says plus 140. Fanatic says plus 140, right? You're looking at that and saying, okay, this is live. Something must have happened that shifted the odds really quickly, and on this end, it just hasn't updated on Pinnacle yet. So therefore, you would stay away from something like that. But again, with pregame, that's much less likely to happen, because it is pregame. There's not live action going on. So really the only thing that would move something is like, a big weather announcement or a trade or an injury or someone, a healthy scratch or something. So you don't need to worry about that as much here. So like I said, I'm up just over $767 from this EV betting in the last 6 days. That's about $100 of profit per day, with me putting down right around, $1,500 per day. So that's what it's looking like for me right now. I will continue to update you guys as I do more and more of this. As I said, I'm looking to up the quantity even more here. And I'm excited to get even more in the weeds with all the EV betting strategies. If you have any questions, leave them below. I'm not going to claim to be some savant. Like I said, I'm just trying this out, and I've learned some stuff even as I'm going, but I will try to answer your questions as best as possible. There is a link in the description. If you want to try out Oddsjam, you'll get a 7-day free trial. You'll be able to try out this EV and also some of the ARB stuff as well. I've got tutorials on. So if you have questions about that, leave that in the comment section. Subscribe for more videos like this. Appreciate you guys watching the video.